Season 10 has led to a pretty stale tank meta, but things aren't too bad. There are more ways than ever to solo carry games, and for every role, not just damage. But when it comes to damage, there is a lot you can do. Let's get into the best solo carry heroes for Season 10, starting with Cassidy. He's only recently become a stable, reliable pick, but now that he is, there's a lot of insane hard carry moves you can make. The most important one being the ability to 2-tap anyone at any range. Just click the head isn't always the most applicable advice, but in this case it's worth it to hard focus on the double tap. Cass has always been about raw mechanics, but now more than ever it sets him apart from the rest. After the health changes, it can take a long time to whittle players down, but Cass can always pull out a good double dink. But it can maybe feel hard to play aggressive enough to do so. That's where you have your role. Now that it's got 75% damage reduction, it's one of the best disengaging abilities in the game. You can play unbelievably aggressive because you have tank level mitigation on a 6-second cooldown. Sure, the duration and distance are both really short, but just being able to play aggressive on the enemy side of the corner will both help you look for picks and bait attention just like you really are a tank. I guarantee at least one player on the enemy team will start over-focusing you just because you're playing more aggressively than most people dare to do. But as long as you stick to your role range and keep looking for picks, you won't be easy to punish at all. If you're looking to rank up on your favorite heroes, check out the link in the description below to get access to a GameLeap membership. There are tons of guides and courses that can level up your game and help you get better, faster. Make sure to check it out and enjoy the video. Next up is another DPS, Sojourn, but she's been strong for a long time. It's not hard to get into her, but there's a lot you can get wrong. She's not as dominant as before, so she can actually feel pretty weak in some matchups, but her railgun and mobility allow her to take advantage of so many opportunities and create some for her team, as long as you focus on getting value with your shots. You don't have to get insane picks at the start of every fight, but yeah, with great aim you can carry your team by finishing the fight before it starts. But know that just hitting a body shot on a support is massive, and headshotting a tank at the right time can win you the frontline matchup. Sojourn has rails so often, and even just her projectile bullets are perfect for spamming corners and keeping up sustained pressure. And lastly, Disruptor Shot is so good at zoning. She can control so much space at once by either splitting off the backline or by blocking the area on your front line. It may not slow anymore, but it's a 60 DPS field that covers any choke point in the game. There's a lot you can do to shut down enemy rotations and control the game more than just getting kill after kill, which again is also one of Sojourn's specialties. Moving on to one of the best tanks this season, although most people would say she is the best, Orisa. Carrying as Orisa seems pretty much impossible, especially in the mirror, but she's not hard meta for nothing. There are a lot of ways to use her kit to truly channel how broken she is, starting with her damage. No fall-off means you can duel heroes from any range. It's super helpful for focusing backline supports or long-range DPS. Keep an eye on the enemy team setup so you can spam out anyone playing too aggressive. You could even get the kill cross-map if you hit your spear. Her damage is also really consistent. Big projectiles with 130 base DPS and a heat-based mechanic instead of a reload. It's perfect for sustained pressure on the enemy team. You essentially just instantly start reloading as soon as you stop shooting. It makes it really easy to avoid damage while still dealing it, as you can just dip behind cover for less than a second and re-peek with a good burst of damage right after. She's really good at farming any other tank without putting herself in too much danger, so make sure to abuse that as much as possible. Everyone already knows how good Fortify is, but Javelin Spin can bail you out anytime you're too far from cover, and it's only 7 seconds cooldown. It's always a good trade for abilities like Ramatha's Shield, Winston's Bubble, or Sigma's Grasp, and with infinite range, you have a lot of room to force those abilities and unstoppably move your team up, choking out the enemy team's angles and space. Next up is as close to a DPS as you're gonna get without actually playing the damage role, Illari. She's a lot stronger now, but she's a pretty selfish hero that doesn't support her team as much. But that doesn't matter when we need to carry the game consistently. Healing and dealing works for Moira, so it works for Illari too. You just need to find the right balance and the right target focus. When spamming away at the front line, you'll want to have concentrated fire on one hero. Sometimes that can be the tank, but with 30 meters fall off range, you can get decent damage onto the backline as well. And that's just from standing with your team in main. You can also take to the flank whenever, since Outburst is a great escape even against 2 players. And as long as you don't throw your pile on aggressively at the floor, you can always have a place to fall back to. Her damage packs a punch if you're hitting your shots, so make sure to stay alive to do so. Keep in mind that it's important to dip back to your team for a good healing burst with your secondary fire. It's a lot better now, and it's really easy to dump over 300 healing and then get back to dealing damage. Illari has burst healing, but not sustained healing, so if you're on the losing end of the fight, don't sweat trying to laser heal as soon as you can. Instead, start peppering the enemies that are taking space to try to snowball you. 115 heals per second is enough to recover allies from pretty low health without risking them dying on you. Next is another classic DPS, but by far the best one around, Tracer. 1 more second on recall and a smaller pulse bomb isn't going to affect how impactful she is, and on every map. All her counters from Season 8 and earlier just pretty much don't exist anymore. Most of what made her tough to play is one-shot potential, since 3-second blinks and a recall allow you to bail out of pretty much any other situation. It's what makes her so good at carrying, because often it's really about how easy it is to survive compared to how easy it is to get kills. Now that way less heroes can one-shot her to the head, she can play even more aggressively. Just like Cassidy, Tracer can get kills insanely fast. 2 clips is always enough if you hit every shot, even just to the body, and although it's not easy, you just have to hit most of your shots and not die within those 3 to 4 seconds. And remember, Sojourn's railgun shot burst is enough of an advantage for your team, and every clip as Tracer within medium range has the same potential. You can even play to just focus the tank, because keeping your damage numbers up is always worth more than playing for one perfect engage. It can easily go wrong because of circumstances out of your control. Now for a hero that's as impactful without as much of the risk. Kiriko can play aggressively, especially for a support, but she also has easy healing and easy saving. Her abilities are so good for making making up for disadvantages, but she's not locked into that playstyle. She can hit headshots cross map at any moment and quickly reposition aggressively or defensively using either her wall climb or her swift step. Carrying as a support can be difficult when there's a lot of options for how to play, but you can always resort to heal botting as Kiriko. It's insanely strong. It's only less effective on your tank if they're playing too aggressively, but its range and homing mechanic make it almost as good as a repair pack every second, and that gives you a lot of control over winning duels for your team all over the map. It's amazing for your Tracer, your Lucio, your Sojourn on an aggressive angle, and even your Orisa, who has so much armor that even just a single heal gets incredible value. Even though she's a lot less overtuned than before, she's got enough power to support all her allies without breaking a sweat. Now for one of the harder heroes to play, but it's not like he's going to get any easier as time goes on. Winston has always been really good at controlling the game, but he's also always been pretty hard to get into. But the meta is pretty okay for him right now, which makes him really good at carrying. You have to get the most value out of all your abilities to do it. Winston is the ultimate disruptor, which is major for winning games. His impact is massive when you constantly deny the enemy heals and bait attention on yourself without dying. There's three main things to focus on, which is your leap, your bubble, and your armor piercing damage. First, your leap. It's super fast and on a 5-second cooldown. You can reposition all over the map and nobody can keep up. That is until you get a bit too close to someone who can kill you within those 5 seconds. Your leap allows you to set up much easier engages than just jumping from main, which helps avoid those situations where you can get killed within 5 seconds. And even if people try to stop you, that's one less person threatening your team. You'll still want to protect them and help them take space physically, so that's where the bubble comes in. It's best used to block healing, but it works perfectly well just as a shield. It gives your DPS the advantage in the duel as long as it's placed between them and the enemy, so it doesn't even have to be super deep. And finally, your armor piercing damage. Winston isn't a tank killer, but his damage against armor is respectable, both primary and secondary fire, so you can safely poke tanks with decent damage. And outside of those three simple things, Primal is amazing as long as you're not missing your jumps. Even if you don't get the kill, as long as you don't die either during or after, it's massive disruption. And even though it's easier said than done, it's worth it for how strong he is on maps with even just a little bit of high ground. And last but not really least, we've got Ana. She hasn't been in the spotlight for a while, but now that she's back to being decent, although slightly underpowered, she's a way more common pick, and she's definitely really easy to carry with. There are a lot of mechanical outplays you can make, adding damage and clutch nades to the fight, but what really sticks out is the combination of how good her healing output is and how strong her ultimate is. Nano Boost is still one of the strongest support ultimates, and by being a support ultimate, also one of the strongest ults in the game. You don't have to be a min-maxing, bloodthirsty super support to consistently get value out of it either. It's great for breaking defensive holds, turning the tide of a fight by saving a teammate, or by comboing with another ult to guarantee any fight win. Ana can get the ult so often because she has insanely high single target healing, and with unscoped shots it can be really hard for the enemy team to even know their target's being full pocketed. She's not as easy as the rest, but when you start hitting most of your sleeps and nades, it gets a lot easier. Just don't be so quick on the trigger. The art of baiting sleep darts goes back almost 8 years. And although she seems pretty dependent on her friendly support to stay alive, her biotic nade amplified healing effect is actually what makes her so helpful to every other support. Suzu is obviously a lot shorter than that with the upside of invincibility, and Immortality Field won't even last that long before breaking, and you definitely won't be full HP after it ends. She's by no means a hard meta pick, but the micro outplays you can make are always reliable. That's it for the best solo carry heroes of Season 10. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.